Carl's going to come and talk about management practice and law number 2 for you. 12:40, Charles will talk a bit about technology for design, and then at 12:50, Oxarch Welcome is here. After that, we're going to head up to the 3rd and 4th floors, where the studios will sit in their spaces, and you can go and ask them a few questions if you'd like to. So that kind of fills up the afternoon. After that, at 5 o'clock, 5:15, we're going to set up a little bit of music. It's going to be quiet music, this isn't going to be banging, but quiet music, and there's a few bottles of wine and some beer and some soft drinks if you'd like to come up and meet with the first years. I think it's quite a nice thing to do at the start of the semester. Do you remember when you were first years? Last year, about this time, you all turned up, didn't know anybody. It'd be nice if you guys would talk to them so that they have some kind of indication of what it's like to be in the school. I don't know, make some friends. I'd like to make some friends one of these days. During this process, we have a form that is with you via email now, and it looks a bit like this. Studio selection form. It's pretty simple. You have to fill in your name, your surname, and your specialisation, and your student number. I think you can all do that. And then you have to rank each of the studios. And I want a ranking for all of the studios, and I want individual rankings for each studio. Don't want you to put down 1 for one studio and then number 6 for all of the rest of the studios. If you do that, we'll plonk you into whatever studio we want. If you try and game the system in any way, we'll just move you into whatever's got the most spaces. And it does say this at the top, so just in case you forget that, it does say that we will, if you fail to follow my instructions, we'll just place you wherever we want to. But I'd like to place you into the studio you want to get placed into. I've got a strange little PowerPoint here to explain this. One second.
While you go for fresh in your mind, do you want to remind me about module registration?
Yeah, I'll do that actually afterwards, don't worry. Actually, I'll do that now, as you've suggested it, and we'll forget it otherwise. I've just sent an email out to you guys, and I've noticed that only 86 users are registered on P30034. Now I'm sure it's not any of you here because you're here, it's probably the ones that aren't here. But if you do have any friends, can you make sure that you tell them to ensure that the modules for the course are registered on their course, on their PIP, by Friday? Because if it goes past Friday, it gets quite complicated to add modules.
If you don't register on the module, we can't get your mark.
Yeah. And also, we can't send you any things like the unit selection.
And you can't graduate.
Yeah. So it probably is wise to register for the module. I don't know. I think it's good advice from Matt there. Okay, back to this weird PowerPoint.
Can I actually tell you you've got that in mind? I'm not sure if the module number will work quite now before the semester starts.
What was
Anyone
that?
first on that vote?
Yeah.
Okay, so that number's not going to work until next week.
Right.
That number's like
Okay. I'll resend that at the first
Well,
page.
can everybody just check the PEP page, make sure you've got the modules you're supposed to have. It'll tell you if modules are missing at the bottom.
Yeah, that's true. And I'll resend the unit selection thing to Raker's list, which has all your emails in it. So I'll do that in about an hour's time. So we think you should keep thinking beyond the constraints of architecture, beyond market forces, beyond disciplinary limits. You should be playing in studios. That's important. And I'm going to skip through this because I've kind of already told you this stuff last year. You know about I've got the wrong thing here, 1 second. Oops. Sorry. This one. So many PowerPoints. Welcome. Unit selection process. This is more like it. Okay. Make notes today when the studio is presented to you. You'll need those notes when you come to translate into the form. The form is quite a long form because there's 8 studios. It's quite difficult to hold in your mind all of the information about the studios. You have an aid memoir, which is the 1-page kind of outline from each of the studios, which you should all have. If you haven't got one, they're underneath Andrew over here. They're not really. Fill in the online form. Now, if you'd like, you can write down this address. It is the correct address for the online form. So if you're worried about not getting an email, write down that short link there. I'll give you about 30 seconds to do that. It is case sensitive, so it's lowercase, 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 uppercase, uppercase, uppercase. And I like the fact it was DHS. make sure that you press submit. That's an important one. When you've done the form, make sure you press the submit button. If you do press the submit button, it will say, would you like me to send you an email confirmation? Now, if you want an email confirmation, it will send you an email confirmation. But it is important to press the submit button, otherwise you won't get the result. And then you'll await the result of your studio selection via an email. We'll send you all out at the agreed time, which I think is Thursday evening, what studio you're in. What I need to achieve though from this is 8 design studios with 13 to 14 students per studio, with a fairness of distribution and an ability spread. This is quite a complex thing when you really think about it. I'd like to have students placed in studios that they've highly ranked. I'd like a good distribution of gender. I'd like distribution of specialism skills, and I'd like you all to be happy. Sometimes that doesn't happen, but I will try my level best to make everybody happy. There's a lot of criteria that are used to put you into studios. It's not just entirely about choice, but choice is one of the most important things. The first phase is studios. What I do is I get all of your submissions in and I stick first choices into each studio. Come in, it's okay. So the first thing is I place you into studios based on your first choice. So I get these big piles of paper. Some of them are bigger than others, but obviously I couldn't just let you all go into your first choices because we'd end up with some studios with 2 or 3 and some studios with 20. That's what always happens. So then I have to start messing around with moving first and second choices around. So then I swap first and second choices to achieve an ability distribution. And what I mean by that is I look at your first year overall grade, and I try and ensure that each studio has a range of abilities within it, from good to pass. That's good for everybody. If you end up with a studio with lots of good people in it, sometimes they go wrong. If you end up with a studio with lots of people and there's no high achievers in it, then there's no aspiration in the studio. So it's important for all of you that there's a distribution of abilities. Also, it's very different to first year. You can do really well in first year and do really badly in second year, or vice versa. So there's no bad side to making sure that you're all kind of spread within these studios. Then, if that doesn't work, I swap first, second and third choices to achieve ability distribution with the use of extra elements from the form, such as the specialism that you did in the previous year and your personal statements. The idea is that I try and get a satisfactory outcome from that, and usually in the last 3 years I've done this, I've managed to get it done with first and second choices. But it's really up to you. I mean, you guys have to make the choices. If you make the right choices, it makes my job really easy. If you make the wrong choices, it makes it really difficult. So I'm going to try and make as many people as happy as possible, but there will be some people that won't be as happy. But trust me, in every studio you can develop your own agenda, your own design ideas. There are guaranteed ways to get your low choices. If you don't fill the form correctly, if you don't give me reasons that you're selecting, or if you're ranking something highly or lowly on the form, if you don't fill out a form, if you don't do it, I'll just stick you in a studio. There's some certainties in this. You'll be able to develop your own methodologies and brief in any of the studios within their agenda. Every studio has a record of producing excellent postgrad work. You will teach your tutors as much as they teach you. Your tutors will be allowed to access this process. So at every point of my selection process, it's transparent to all of the tutors. And so they're all keeping an eye on me, so I don't prompt specific people into studios. I do it fairly. In fact, when I do this, I do it without seeing names. I do it all on student numbers and genders. So it is a particularly fair process. It has to be in before 10 AM tomorrow. That's important. When I say in, you have to have clicked a few buttons on your computer before 10 AM tomorrow. And I will get the results to you by 9 PM on Thursday, 22nd of September. I'm 99% sure of that. Sometimes it's more complicated and it might take a bit longer, but that's my intention, is to get them to you by the 22nd of September. Hopefully you'll all choose in a way that makes everybody happy, because it is really your fault. If you all choose equal numbers of studios as your first choice, that means I can just do it in one go. It's brilliant. Okay, so the studio presentations are next. There's a couple of things I want to tell you before that happens, though. The most important change that we've made to the programme this year is the Viva at the end. In previous years, you submitted a portfolio and we took it off you and we marked it and we cross-marked it and we moderated it. This year we're moving towards a system of Vivas where you will be asked to present your portfolio for about 10 minutes at the end of the year. There'll be a couple of dry runs of this that go on throughout the year. I'm not going to present to you the entire schedule of the year this year because that's kind of down to the studios, but there are some key events. There are 2 cross tutorials that happen in the middle of each semester, which I'll tell you about via email. One of those will be used as a dry run for the Vivas, which will be the second one. The Viva basically means you'll stand up, present your work for 10 minutes in front of about 5 members of staff. They'll then ask you questions about the work, and then you'll go out the room. They'll see your full portfolio, which you have to submit at the normal time, which is the 12th of May this year. And then a discussion will take place, and that your work will be marked. So all be aware of that this year, more than any other year, you have to develop the way that you present your work verbally to, I think, a more advanced level than we have done in the past. I think that helps in a number of ways. It helps when you go into practice because you'll be able to describe your work better. When you go to the external examiners, you'll be able to describe your work better. And for you as well, I think it's important that we develop this in the school as a way of explaining architectural ideas and work. I think that's all I need to say at the moment, isn't it, Charles? Can you think of anything else that I've missed?
No, I can't think of anything else you've missed. I think those are the main things. Good.
All right, so if we'll transition to the studio presentations, which will start in about 5 minutes. And Jaya and Andrew are first, so come up here, we'll set your presentation up. Talk amongst yourself for 5 minutes.
Hello, Ronnie. Sorry. How you been, Ronnie? You alright? Only get straight on. My profile's shit, alright?